Okay, so we're here with Mr. Pendleton, and we're going to ask a few questions about earthquakes. So the first question is, what are earthquakes like?
Well, I grew up in Alaska, so I lived there for a really long time, and there's a lot more earthquake activity in Alaska because of all the different tectonic plates that come together. So earthquakes can feel different. Sometimes it can feel like just a big giant like that, like everything just jumps, and it's like very exciting. Other times it's like a roller coaster where it's just kind of wavy.
Kind of bumpy in a way.
I've had different experiences in different earthquakes. Sometimes it's really gentle. Sometimes it just feels like you're moving back and forth. Other times it feels like you get thrown to the side.
So we've heard that you were in a tsunami too. How does that?
I wasn't in a tsunami. I was on a boat, anchored one night, and another boat came out and they blow their horn 5 times. Five horn blasts means it's an emergency, and so everybody who was on their boats got in their boats, and they said there was an earthquake and there's a tsunami projected to come and hit this area, and so we all needed to get in our boats and go out to sea, because if you're out at sea, then a tsunami will just roll right underneath you. It's like a big giant roller.
Yeah.
But if you're in close to land, it'll turn
It's gonna
into a
hit
wave.
you down. Yeah.
So we got in the boat and we went out to sea.
Okay. So another question is, what were your emotions when you were in an earthquake?
Depends. Sometimes it's surprising, and usually the first thing you think is, what's going on? It takes a few seconds to process that this isn't normal. Sometimes it feels like, have you ever been sitting next to somebody who's like moving their leg up and down really fast and the floor starts to shake a little bit? Sometimes it feels like that. But other times, like when those jolts happen, it's like, whoa, what was that? Sounds like something just ran into the building.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another question. How strong was the earthquake?
Well, I've been in lots of them. The one that I remember last happened in Alaska in 2002. It was called the Denali Fault earthquake. And in that earthquake, I didn't actually feel it. I was outside. When you're outside, it feels different than when you're in a building. So I was outside, I was working, and my wife was at work at a store, and she totally felt it. And where she was used to be a lake bed. And so the building was built on ground that's really soft and
it's like a mud thing, like where water will come in and it will just.
Well, there's no water, but it was. She really felt the earthquake there, and where I was, I didn't really feel it at all. But if you go online and you look at Alaska 2002 earthquake, there are tons of these images that'll show like the land split open and the roads torn apart from the earthquake. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Back to the tsunami question when Ari asked you, was it scary?
No, it was exciting. I mean, it's like, oh, we got to get out to sea, but I mean, you're getting up in the middle of the night and getting in the boat and going.
Yeah.
Where was your wife and kids at?
When?
During that time.
Yeah.
I didn't have my kids weren't born yet.
Oh, okay.
And my wife, well, when the tsunami happened, it was before I met my wife, so she wasn't there. I was with my parents. I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
I was probably about your age when that happened.
13.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so here's another one. Here's like a kind of off thing, something. If you were like a teacher, like just a normal teacher at a school, how would the teachers react to an earthquake in the students?
What should they do?
Yeah, like how would they react to it?
I think the teachers are going to react the same way you would. They're going to be surprised, maybe scared.
Excited in some ways. Just different.
They're going to react, and it's going to take a minute to process what's happening. Like the big earthquakes that hit, like in 1964, there was an earthquake in Alaska that was before I was born, so I didn't live through that. The earthquake lasted for 5 minutes.
Wow.
So just time 5 minutes, and imagine the ground shaking that whole time.
So what's the worst earthquake you've been in, like 5 point?
7.1, I think.
Where was that at? Alaska?
That was the one in 2002.
Oh, really?
But like I said, depending on where you are, it feels different. Like where my house was located, where I was working outside, the ground underneath my house is mostly gravel and it's more solid, and so it absorbs the shock waves. I think there's P and S waves in an earthquake, so that makes it less strong. It also depends on where the earthquake happens. If the earthquake happens here, and you're like 50 miles away over here, and the earthquake is shooting the energy mostly up, you're going to feel less of it because it's not going to radiate out this strongly here. But if you were right above it, that's going to be really exciting.
Okay, so this is kind of an off question thing. Like if the earthquake destroyed everything, what would you do differently?
Like,
Well,
let's say.
I hope it doesn't destroy everything. What do you mean destroy
No,
everything?
like destroy like all the
Part-
buildings.
Like not.
Sure,
no,
let's make
most of
this-
them.
Yeah,
What?
most of the buildings.
Well, like this building is designed to withstand more of an earthquake than like your house is.
Okay, so let's say
So
like a
certain-
9.5 hit.
Yeah, that's
What would
pretty
you do
strong.
afterwards? Like, what's the first thing you would do? Because that's
Well,
a
I'd
project
make
we
sure
were
I was
working in
safe
class.
because there's going to be lots of aftershocks that are going to happen. And so
Mhm.
it's going to be for the next 8 to 10 hours. You're probably going to be feeling aftershocks, maybe even longer. Sometimes they go on for days and days. But first thing is think about shelter, where you can be safe. Think about where you're going to get food and clothing and being safe. So first thing is take care of your basic needs: food, shelter, and water.
In Alaska.
If we had a go bag, what would you put inside your go bag? Like, you put it in the back of your car and
There's,
you're
like,
ready
just
for
some
something.
hands for a
happen.
raincoat or something.
What would you put in your go bag?
What do you mean? You mean
Like,
what do I
like a-
have in my
like a-
go
No,
bag?
what will
Yeah.
You, yeah. What
Yeah,
will you
yeah.
put
I
in
already
it?
have one.
What do you have in it?
I have some backup food, some MREs that are there. I have some water. I don't have enough water. That's one of the hardest things to store over long periods of time.
Yeah.
Actually, at my house, I have a trailer, and so I keep water in the trailer, and then every 3 or 4 months, I change out the water. That way, if there was a major disaster and like the water system wasn't clean and I couldn't drink the water, I'd have 28 gallons of water in my trailer that I could use.
28 gallons. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think they say you need 3 or 4 gallons of water a day per person normally.
Yeah.
In Alaska, how do the schools prepare for an earthquake?
They kind of do the same things we do here. We have earthquake drills. But one thing that's different is every middle school where I live, they have a giant generator built next to the school. So if there's ever an earthquake and things like the power system go offline, the school actually has a generating system to turn on energy so that families that live around that school could come to the school. They could cook food there. And they have actually a big, those big containers like they put on tractor trailers?
Yeah.
They have one of those giant trailers filled with supplies. Food that's freeze-dried, water, everything you would need in an emergency so that people could survive for 4 or 5 days without really any supplies.
About the school, how old is it right there?
20 years. It was built 20 years ago.
So, does that mean 20 years they were kind of prepared for this stuff? Or, like...
They were fairly prepared, yeah. The building codes are a lot better now than they were, say, 50 or 100 years ago.
Yeah, because they made it out of bricks and stuff.
Yeah, but see, all our bricks are steel reinforced, so there's rebar going through the bricks. So the walls, they might crack and they'll move,
But there's still those
but
bars.
they're not going to fall down.
Okay.
Not normally. Now, some earthquakes are so strong that even that would fall down, but it's less likely. Like Haiti had an earthquake where all kinds of buildings were collapsing and falling down. Well, they weren't reinforced with steel.
Like Japan or something.
Japan had really strong
True.
buildings, and so most things didn't collapse. But in
And they
Haiti,
have those
did.
springs that they have under their buildings. They're making some springs.
What would be the safest place to hide?
To be in an earthquake.
To be in an earthquake. At home, at
Anywhere
school?
that is like the corner of something. So like along that wall, not under the window, but a wall. If it's going to collapse,
It's gonna fall over
It's
you.
not going to
but-
fall and be flat on the ground. It's going to fall and then run into something, and it's going to leave a space where it's falling. Most earthquakes that you're going to experience in your life aren't going to be that strong. So, so what you're at risk for most earthquakes is stuff falling from the ceiling. Like these ceiling tiles, they'll fall out of the ceiling and fall down on top of you. The light fixtures will crack and fall apart, and that glass will come raining down. So those are the sorts of things that you're more likely to experience. And so, what would protect you if you knew those things were going to fall? Where should you go?
Under a table.
Yeah.
Under a table, under
Yeah.
a chair.
Under a table, under a chair, something that's going to protect your body. And the part of your body you want to cover is your head to your waist, because that's where your organs are.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of the San Andreas Fault, that movie. There's a baseball field. Well, actually, I'm not going to spoil it, but
I've seen it.
yeah.
But that's not why we're here.
Yeah.
What other questions do you have for me?
What is the plan for an earthquake at Frontier?
Well, first is for everybody to drop, cover, and hold. So you go under a table, you hold on to the table or chair, and try and protect yourself while the earthquake's happening. And then once the earthquake's over, then we decide, do we need to evacuate the building? Should we stay where we are? And so then the decisions start to be made. And then it's just like I talked about at the beginning. You want to make sure everybody's safe, in a safe place. If part of the building's starting to fall down, then we're going to get everybody out of that part of the building, because when an aftershock hits, maybe more of the building will fall down.
Yeah.
Has there ever been an earthquake that happened at Frontier?
I would imagine there has, not that I've seen or been here.
Probably about like a 0.1 or something.
Yeah.
Well, 1 point something.
Well, there's lots of earthquakes that happen all the time. So.
Yeah. But they're not that big. They're mostly like 1 point stuff and everything.
Okay, here's another question. What were you thinking about?
When you were in,
Well, I remember when I was in middle school, I was in choir, and we were in our choir rows, getting ready for class, and the whole room started doing the wave kind of earthquake, and it was like for 30, 40 seconds, and the room was just shaking. It wasn't shaking; it was just rolling. It felt like you were in a car going over really wide bumps, and it was really cool.
But it was like smooth.
It wasn't scary. It was just kind of like, wow, everybody's going, whoa, and that's what that felt like.
Wait, is it like one of those bumps when you exit out, but like longer and bigger or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that was fun. That was kind of like, that's kind of cool. Yeah. But then other times it's been scary. So, you think about different things depending on where you are and what it feels like.
Okay, so, what would we do when the earthquake ends?
Well, you listen to adults. If there's no adults, then you think about, how do I make sure I'm safe? If where you're at is in a space that's not safe, then you'd want to find a different space to be in. The last place you want to go in an earthquake is a room that has high ceilings, like the lunchroom or the gym. You want to move away from places like that.
And why do you want to move away from those?
Well, because the taller a structure is, and the bigger the roof is, the less support. So it's in an earthquake, that's going to be more likely to crumble or maybe
So
fall.
kind of like the band room.
And that wouldn't be a great spot. This is better. This is a better space because it's small. You've got more walls.
I mean, this table's pretty big.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
roof, and the only thing that we just have to worry about is the roof falling.
Right. And
So
it's usually just,
stay
it's
under
not
the
the roof caving in, it's just these things that are attached that are just
Like
sitting.
light bulbs.
Yeah.
The tiles and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's all gonna fall down probably.
All right, anything else?
I think that sums it up.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, thank you for talking to us.
You bet. Thanks for coming, gentlemen. I hope this has helped you.
It has, and we will.
Especially our grades too.
Okay, that's awesome.
So,
All right, bye.
bye.